I have heard of your love towards all the saints. If I might ask everyone, after possibly spending a couple of days with your extended family, do you have love towards all? Yes, I love all the saints, but that does not include my crazy cousin who drives me cross-eyed. It also helps to remind us as parents of the sainthood of those teachers who spend time day in and day out with our children after we are with them for these long breaks. Saints means all. Whether we can recognize the goodness in them or not. We're saints because we belong to God. That is, people who are in a perpetual progress towards becoming what God birthed us to become. Despite what we might have witnessed a brother or a sister or uncle say at the Thanksgiving table, God has never requested any human being to help with that judgment piece. On this day, this last day of this liturgical year, Christ the King, we celebrate a time when Jesus has been given that great seat of judgment himself. And he's simply looking over how we live out our life, whether we are gracious or are we judgmental. I know all of these things, but God, I can really help you get a truer perspective of this person, right? And yes, Jesus can tell the difference, like the rest of us, between a sheep and a goat. One has a tail that goes up and one has a tail that goes down. One can stay out in the elements all night while one needs shelter from the cold. But all sheep and goats depend on people. And so the sorting is left to Jesus alone. We are called to care in kindness. Bishop Stephen Charleston once said, kindness is both a risk and an invitation. At night, the goats get cold and they need greater warmth than the sheep do because the goats' bodies are not as sturdy. And just like we have family members that need more of our kindness than others do, so we also have neighbors who need more than what they have. More warmth, more food, more clothing, more drink. They need more love. And oftentimes, the hardest people to love are those who need our love the most. As saints in training, we give that love because the King, our King, gave it first of all to you and to me. So we serve. We serve because this Messianic King has lived out his teaching that his kingdom consists of service to others. On Tuesday afternoon, I started to notice that I was feeling a little bit under the weather. Wednesday morning, doctor's appointment confirmed strep throat. And thanks to great medical care, Friday I was finally back to being myself. But the first self-sign that I know is that when I have a list of things to do, but all I want to do is to just go plop on the couch and to find some classic movie. So around 4 o'clock, I cozied up into those nice cushions and found the original version of Jaws, despite my to-do list. The villain of this shark, the lion, the king of the sea. And after watching one poor person after another get gobbled up and hearing that wonderful theatrical music of dun 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 dun, because you know there's blood coming. Seeing the work of the heroic chief police who's going out trying to keep everyone safe, who's having to stand up against the city council and the mayor, and because he pushes too hard, he loses his job. And then as we finally get towards the end, he catches word that his own son is in trouble with some other kids. They're entrapped in a boat as the jaws of life are swimming around them. And the only real ones who are ever safe in this movie, and I think the only ones who are really safe in life in general, are the bystanders who just stay on the shore. They know better than going in the water. They just stand and point, occasionally scream, and just kind of move around as a blob of people with however the emotional stage takes them. They are pretty boring. Again, Bishop Charleston tells us kindness is both a risk and an invitation. Living and moving into the waters is where life is lived out. We celebrate our King today, the one who patrolled those in need, the one who teaches in public, the one who stands up against authority and loses his life because of it so that we could have life ourselves. And in order to grasp the importance of what Jesus has done for us and invited us to live into ourselves, we have to truly acknowledge how blessed we are. That we can provide food and clothing and shelter and medicine for ourselves and those that we care for. And that we have neighbors around us that don't have these basic necessities, and that we're called time and time again to jump in and to go do whatever we can, whenever we can, to help. This is how we live into kindness, instead of just being on the shore as bystanders. For our gospel is clear today. Jesus modeled the life that God desires for all of us to live. Not to live into the future, but to live into the present, now, as saints. For the sheep can endure the weather of both the day and the night, while observing that command to care without ceasing and leaving the judgment work to God. Goats might need the help of others according to our own lenses, but we always acknowledge that they are God's too. Therefore, we're always striving to love those who strike our nerves the most with even greater hearts wide open. Because the more we can love those who are close to us, whether family or friends, those in our own community, the more we work through that frustration and find God's grace so that we can be a sheep to them. It helps us to widen our eyes and to see beyond our walls of church and of home and of work to those in even greater need in our larger community. And when we begin to see that, we are courageously ready to dive in. Today, remember your blessings. Love the sheep, the goats, and the sharks all the same. Let the King's work be the King's work, and the saints in training work to be our own. To hold on to the words that we sang together in the Jubilate. Be ye sure that the Lord, He is God. It is He that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are His people, the sheep of His pasture. For the King we follow invites us all into these pastures. And the risk is a reward of heavenly proportions.